everyone. Here's what's coming up tonight on News Center Now. It's the second time in Maine's largest city that a medical cannabis storefront has opened. Why some customers are confused when they walk through the doors.
Plus, we'll show you some of the tough training life flight helicopter crews have to go through here in Maine. This is News Center Now. The first and only permitted medical marijuana storefront in Portland's Old Port is up and running. Good evening, everybody. I'm Lee Nelson.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. Fire on 4 is getting ready for a grand opening on Saturday. This is the second shop of its kind to open in Maine's largest city since new medical marijuana reforms were implemented in December. The new rules allow caregivers the ability to set up retail stores with municipal approval and state licensing. In December, Gas and Grass opened on Warren Avenue. At these two shops, only medical cannabis card holders can make purchases. The shop's owner says many customers are turned away because they come in thinking it's a recreational marijuana store. He says it's a place for caregivers to provide their product and get retail exposure.
We're trying to be a platform to support all the small businesses and like local growers throughout the state. There's a lot of good high quality growers, and our focus is to showcase their work.
The shop offers edibles and CBD-based products as well. They say the neighboring businesses have been welcoming. Fire on 4 has a grand opening again planned for Saturday. All right, let's take a look at some of our headlines tonight. Robert Kraft's legal troubles about to get a little more public by the end of the month. A judge has blocked the release of spa videos of Kraft and others until a hearing is held on April 29th. The Palm Beach County State Attorney says Florida law requires the video to be made public. The video will be blurred or pixelated. Kraft was charged earlier this year with soliciting a prostitute at the spa. He pleaded not guilty and he has requested a jury trial.
Now to an inspiring sign of the future in Paris. Just 48 hours after a fire tore through the historic Notre Dame Cathedral, bells rang out all across France in a show of solidarity. And President Emmanuel Macron has set a goal of reopening that cathedral to the public in 5 years. Now, remember, Paris is hosting the 2024 Summer Olympic Games, and the president wants tourists visiting Paris for the Games to be able to visit the newly rebuilt cathedral as well. More than $1 billion has already been pledged for that reconstruction.
The search for a young woman in Colorado whom the FBI called a threat is now over. Law enforcement officials confirming 18-year-old Sol Pais is dead. Pais was a high school student in Florida, but she was on the FBI's radar for her obsession with the Columbine shooting. The 20th anniversary of that school massacre is happening this Saturday. Pais had allegedly made violent threats to schools in the Denver area, forcing 20 schools, including Columbine, to go into lockdown. Police say she had purchased a shotgun and ammo and had traveled to Colorado. They say she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Maine Governor Janet Mills is developing a program that would stock all of the state's high schools and middle schools too with the overdose antidote drug naloxone.
So we want to hear what you think about this idea. You can vote right now at pulse.newscentermaine.com or at the Pulse poll tab on our mobile app.
Yeah, the Press Herald in Portland reports the administration also wants to improve and expand drug education to the younger grades. Supporters of this naloxone plan say the plan could save lives, but some lawmakers and educators say the program would normalize drug use and give school staff even more responsibilities than they already have.
A lot of you reacting already today on social media. Molly says that she is a school nurse and wants and needs the tools to save lives because, as she says, that's what school nurses do. Fern, though, doesn't agree, saying that is rewarding the drug user. And finally, Rind says, how about free breakfast and lunch instead? We will have more about this story coming up on News Center Maine at 6 o'clock.
Alrighty. And in the meantime, let's talk about the weather. It was the pick of the week.
Definitely.
And it turned into just what you said it.
You were happy?
So I'm credit where credit is due. I was happy.
Do you have the convertible top down today?
You know, it will be on the way home.
You didn't do it today? I'm surprised. Well, you came in.
I was going to ride my bike to work, but it was still a little cold when I came to work.
Oh,
so.
right.
I have a 50-degree cutoff for riding my bike.
I understand.
Yeah.
We made you sound like probably richer than you are just then.
Right.
You're like, did you put the top down? Did you ride the bike?
Well,
that's
when
fine.
I was laying out on my yacht around noon, it was perfect.
It was good. That's yours. That makes sense. Makes sense. 3-hour tour is what it was called, huh? 59 in Portland for a high today, 60 in Sanford. We were just talking in the weather text thread about how the models were too low for a high today. It's a good problem to have, but maybe underestimating the sun this time of the year a bit, getting to around 60 in a lot of spots. Still there, Wiscasset, Portland, Sanford. You know, upper 50s is a good temperature because it doesn't automatically kick that sea breeze in. When you try to get to 65 to 70, that's when the sea breeze starts kicking in pretty hard. So for the coast, it's kind of ideal this time of the year. Wind gusts have settled since yesterday, only 15 or 20 miles an hour. So a little bit of a breeze, sure, but nothing like what we saw yesterday. Visible satellite is clean, and it's going to stay that way through the first half of tonight. There was, as far as I could tell at least, no cloud cover today, pretty much anywhere in Maine. And so that changes late tonight, but until then, we're in good shape. Hour-by-hour forecast showing you clouds coming in from the southwest to northeast through tomorrow morning. So a lot of us will wake up tomorrow, and there'll be sun. It won't last that long, though, as we cloud up through the middle of the day. And here comes the warm front, a couple of isolated showers on through on Thursday into Thursday night. And then Friday, we're in the warm sector. Guys, Friday's an interesting day because it's probably not that sunny, but if we get any sun, we get a shot to get into the 70s. So we'll talk more about that in the weekend in a few minutes.
That's a shot we'd like to take.
I like the what do they say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take?
Right.
Yes.
Isn't that like
Right.
it?
So
There you
true.
go. There you go. All right, Keith, with a little weather wisdom there.
Exactly.
Moving on now, you know, working in Maine, Life Flight crews, they fly over lakes and islands and miles of coastline.
While in its 20-year history, it's never had a water emergency, the team does undergo extensive training to make sure they're prepared. Pilots, flight nurses, and paramedics spending the day recently at a Survival Systems USA training camp in Groton, Connecticut. Life Flight posted some of the photos from a recent training on its Facebook page. You can see the simulated helicopter hovering over the pool, then submerged. At times, the overhead lights go out and they continue training in the dark. Kayla Jones recently underwent the training.
Situational awareness is huge in this job, and this is just one part of it, knowing your surroundings, knowing everything that's going on, and really being able to function at a high level under a lot of stress, and that's what we do every day at Life Flight.
Meanwhile, Taylor Clark, a pilot who's been working with Life Flight for about 10 months now, also underwent that training. Recently, he says they fly often to the islands off the coast of Maine.
This is training that we hopefully never have to use, but that preparation is something that gives us a massive amount of peace of mind and an opportunity to work along with our staff that we have with us.
And Patrick Peralt is a flight nurse who underwent the training when he started Life Flight 6 years ago. Started at Life Flight 6 years ago. He's never had to use this training, but is grateful for the experience.
You always got to be ready for if anything does happen, so being unprepared is not a good thing.
And we have much more of those images and videos at our website and mobile app.
I love that kind of training, like, you know, the kind of physical tests and stuff, underwater stuff.
I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I mean, being turned upside down underwater.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. I think I'd like to try it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we take a break, I want you to weigh in on our Pulse poll. Governor Janet Mills' idea to have naloxone, the antidote to opiate overdoses, in middle schools and high schools in Maine. Overwhelmingly no so far, but people can continue to weigh in, right?
Yeah, join the conversation too right now on our Facebook live stream. Preschoolers may be more likely to develop behavioral problems if they have a couple of hours of screen time every day. That's according to new research from Canada. They studied more than 2,400 families, the parents reporting their child's total screen time per day. Children who spent at least 2 hours in front of a screen were more likely to display problems such as inattention and meet the criteria for ADHD. This is compared to children who had less than 30 minutes of screen time per day.
The ride-sharing company Lyft is launching some new safety and security features to protect riders. Lyft will now run continuous criminal background checks on all of its active drivers. Before, the company did that, but just once a year. And Lyft will require their drivers to carry both a valid driver's license, obviously, and an up-to-date photo to prevent identity fraud. Any driver who does not pass these screenings will be barred from the company. And this move follows the killing of a college student in South Carolina last month. Samantha Josephson got into a stranger's vehicle thinking it was her Lyft.
There is good news for travelers planning a trip to Europe this summer.
Okay.
Flights to some European destinations will be the cheapest they've been in 3 years. That's according to this flight tracking app called Hopper. I love this app. I don't know if you've ever used it.
No, I've never used it.
It's awesome. The average cost of a flight to Europe during peak summer travel looks like it will be around $909 round trip. That is a 2% reduction from this time last year. If you book now, you may still get in on spring flight deals, which Hopper says averages about $637 round trip. Among the reasons for cheaper European flights this summer, a strong dollar, increased competition from low-cost carriers, and that Brexit extension.
All right, 80% to 20%, the no's winning our pulse question right now. Do you like Governor Janet Mills' idea to have naloxone in Maine middle and high schools?
Yeah, thank you guys for weighing in. Continue on the conversation during Facebook.
All right, coming up, we're going to see the most expensive bottle of wine in the world. It's a pretty penny for sure.
I don't know if I'd spend that. And you can't whine too much about the weather today. We'll see Keith's forecast next.
All right, we're back. This past year has been a tough one for Maine first responders, from the killing of Corporal Eugene Cole to the loss of a couple of firefighters, and most recently, of course, Maine State Police Detective Ben Campbell. Dispatchers
from across the state are among those who are mourning the deaths of their colleagues, and it is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And News Center's Samantha York joins us now with more on a tight-knit team of dispatchers in Augusta.
Yeah, so these guys are answering upwards of 100 calls each per day, and they're coming in from 12 of the 16 counties in the state. So they're overseeing all of our state troopers, game wardens, major crimes unit, just to name a few. So it's a huge job, but our 911 calls wouldn't be answered without them.
Copy 610.
Whether it's a medical emergency,
Are you clammy or having cold sweats?
or reporting something strange,
There's a cow moose standing in the middle of the road and acting intoxicated.
the team at the Regional Communication Center in Augusta is working 24/7 to connect callers with whatever help they need.
All right, sir, I'm just going to ask you some medical questions, okay? Hold on one moment.
Each dispatcher understanding how critical their job is.
When I take a medical call, I know what I'm sending the guys into because I've been there.
But even with years of experience, there are some calls they are never prepared for.
When it's personal, it's worse. It's way worse. And I've had officers involved in major incidences, and your stomach hits your toes, very literally. It just, these are people that you talk to more than you talk to your family sometimes.
It's that special bond between first responders that grows into something much more, a family. So when the job gets tough, like any family, they rely on each other to make it through the good and the bad.
We hear things that you can't unhear and have to deal with it. And a lot of it is dealing with it together.
And while the emergency on the other end of the phone is always unknown, one thing is certain. When disaster strikes, these dispatchers will be there.
Take a walk and clear your head, and then you start over again for the next call because somebody else still needs you.
So obviously having that support from each other is huge, but also after any big calls, they'll have debriefing, they'll bring in counselors, and everyone that I spoke to, they said, it's a tough job, but you never know what the next call is going to be, but at the end of the day, you're helping someone and making their day a little bit easier, so it's rewarding.
You know what I always think about folks like that is, so they take a call, it's a scary emergency, they send police there or fire there, and so at least the first responders they have some action. They're going there to fix whatever the problem is. These folks,
they have no
they're
idea.
It's on to the next call. Meanwhile, that's in the back of their head. There's something major going on, so it must be really, really kind of
they say they just kind of have to put it away for a little bit, and then they just deal with it when they go home, because again, there's somebody else waiting to get help. So it's a tough job.
Yeah.
And they have each other, which is pretty awesome.
So a big thank you to all of you guys out there.
Absolutely. All right, Sam, thank you very much. So, a lot of people have been enjoying the weather today, from spending time at the beach in Old Orchard Beach in South Portland, or appreciating maybe the sun up in the county. as well.
I love the snow in the background.
Yeah, just about everywhere.
I mean, the sun did feel spectacular today. And did you see that push notification we sent out from the News Center Maine website about using sunscreen? Because the angle of the sun is the same as it is in August.
Did we really?
I thought that was going to be from you.
This is the moment when I admit I do not have our app. Sorry, Jeff Schools.
You probably don't want to say that.
Probably. I don't have many apps, though, in my defense. I keep my phone pretty minimal.
Digitally clean.
But that's a good push roller, because it's true, you get the sunburn.
Well, you know, none of our managers are watching this show now,
right,
Keith,
so I
you're
think
fine. You're fine.
Tempting fate. No, seriously though, I don't have that many apps, okay? I'm just saying. I don't like push notifications on anything.
No?
Like, it has to be like a really big thing for me to want to push notifications.
Gotcha.
So. All right, anyways, 59 for a high in Portland today, 57 in Augusta. We did pretty well, as I mentioned before, along the coast. That's where you want to be this time of the year to fight off what would otherwise be a sea breeze circulation. Right now, still in the upper 50s, so a nice late afternoon, early evening along the coast, 57 in Augusta, and 53 in Rangeley. It got pretty warm into the mountains today, too. Wind gusts have settled. They were 40 miles an hour yesterday, more like 10 to 15 miles an hour through most of today, and that made a huge difference. Obviously, it was a little bit warmer, too, but the winds coming down helped us a lot. Satellite, it's working. There's just nothing to look at here. They're totally clean across all of New England. It was one of the sunnier days you'll see this time of the year. So hour by hour forecast, tonight actually gets pretty cool pretty fast because it's clear and we radiate that heat into the upper atmosphere fast. Tomorrow, though, we start with some sun and we start clouding out from southwest to northeast through the day. Notice not a ton of showers during the day. A couple of sprinkles possible over western Maine and the mountains through the afternoon, but most of the showers wait till overnight Thursday to come through. And then Friday's an interesting day, as we talked about with the warm front here, cold front still waiting to come through. I don't think it's a great looking day, but I think it could be pretty warm. Temperatures not only in the 60s, but I think some low 70s a possibility. Lewiston, Freiburg, Sanford, you can see into Concord. I think Augusta has a chance at 72 if everything kind of plays the right way, and Bangor in the mid 60s. So don't sleep on Friday, it's not a bad day. Friday night, unfortunately, things go downhill. It starts raining Friday night through the day on Saturday, and I just don't see any way to spin Saturday other than to say that it's going to be rainy and temperatures aren't going to be that warm. So it's just not a very nice weekend day, unfortunately. Still waiting on Sunday. I think Sunday is better than Saturday, but it's not great, because we've got at least light rain through the first half of the day on Sunday and maybe be able to clear out for Sunday afternoon, especially over western and southern Maine. So got a lot of raindrops on this forecast, and that's kind of what you'd expect this time of the year, where you're in this pattern. It's an upper level low. It's not bad, but you know, you got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 7 days have a chance of a shower. The only day you really need to worry about is Saturday, because that's just a straight rainer. So that's one of those if you want to do the movies or whatever it is you do on a rainy day, but it's not going to be very nice. And then Easter Sunday, we'll see if we can clear out the afternoon, at least get half a day out of that.
That would be good.
I know a lot of spring sports are really struggling to get outdoors for their practices and such, so this rain really isn't doing them any favors.
Yeah, spring in Maine is tough. If it's not this, it's still snowing. I mean, it's just, it's rare that you have that good stretch in the spring.
Yeah, I still have snow in my yard.
It's going to
Quite a
be
lot,
a while.
actually. Yeah. All right, Keith. Thank you, sir, very much. But stick around for this, because this is interesting.
Yeah.
Last night, we looked at the most expensive home on the market in Maine. It was, $12 million. Tonight, we have found the perfect wine to go with that home.
A winemaker in Hungary claims to be selling the world's most expensive wine at $40,000 a bottle. The wine is produced in a region known for its golden dessert wine. The bottle is a 1.5-liter hand-blown Magnum with a special cork made in Portugal. The manager of the winery says his wine has a rich royal heritage that dates back to the 1500s, and he claims the $40,000 price tag is due to the amount of manual labor required to produce it. Sounds like we have a lot of verifies to do here. The grapes are picked one by one for a daily harvest of about 20 pounds in a good year. Only 18 bottles are currently offered for sale, so if you want one, you gotta pay up. There are plenty of unique food combinations around the world. This tweet, though, was put out asking for the weirdest food combinations. So we first saw mustard in yogurt.
Is that real? I don't think that's real.
know.
And as gross as that sounds, how about this one? Peanut butter, mayo, and banana sandwiches.
Say that without cringing.
That's awful. And A1 sauce in mango smoothies.
Sharp cheddar cheese and chocolate chip cookies.
That one I could do, I think.
Yeah.
I think I could do that. We have Cindy here too. You know, so what's my family's weird one? Crackers and milk. Saltines and milk.
Right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not that weird though, doesn't it? Don't a lot of people do that?
Crackers and milk, like salty crackers?
Yeah, saltines,
crackers
crumbled up
a
in milk.
glass of
And you
milk.
dip them in milk.
No, you just put them right in. You crush up a bunch of saltines in a glass,
It's
then you pour
weird.
the milk in, and you.
He's
yeah.
weird. If you haven't
Yeah.
figured that out yet.
Tell me more. We can talk over the break.
We got a lot more news coming up for you on News Hitter at 5:30. A legislative committee votes to test all children in Maine for lead because of exposure to lead paint in so many of Maine's old homes. We're going to take a look at the plan, which really focuses on younger kids. A female high school student in Alaska has been suspended after kneeing a boy in the groin at school, and that might seem like a reasonable punishment on the surface, but there are a lot of layers to this story, and it is getting a lot of attention on social media, so we're going to talk about that at 5:30.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks so
All right,
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're right back.
Amazing.
All right, checking in on our Pulse poll results tonight. 80% of you saying no. You're not a fan of Governor Mills' idea to have naloxone in Maine middle and high schools. A lot of you joining the conversation on our Facebook live stream, including one viewer who writes, with diabetes, she struggles to get the medication she needs. So when you compare the two, it's really interesting. So thank you guys so much for joining that conversation.
Pretty one-sided. Usually they're closer to 50-50.
Sure.
So, all right, today's brain drops. I want to start with, you may be aware of this, maybe not. The national news might lead with it. I'm not sure. Couple day severe weather outbreak is likely here, starting today into tomorrow and perhaps into Friday as well. The reason I'm showing you this is, let's go to the next graphic. This is really interesting. I knew this, but to see it put it this way, the number of tornadoes that are weak in the blue versus strong, which is in the sliver of red here, versus the number of deaths caused by each one. So only 0.5 of all tornadoes are EF4s or EF5, that's the top rating, but they account for over half of the United States tornado deaths.
Wow.
And so you get these weaker tornadoes, we get them in Maine, they're EF0s or EF1s. Those can do property damage, but they don't tend to cause any deaths. So it's all about that small percentage that are what we call violent tornadoes, so EF4s, EF5s. Unfortunately, looking at the pattern for the middle part of the country, next couple of days, they have a chance to have a couple of those really violent ones. But I thought that was crazy just to see how it was broken down, that it's all about those top end. Whereas hurricanes are not like that.
Sure.
It's tornadoes.
So if you have loved ones in those regions, maybe check in, make sure they're good to go later this week. All right, News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.